Hi, everybody, and sorry I can't see you on that side, but my name is Chelsea, and I am the owner of JTA Wellness. I'm also a registered dietitian nutritionist, and I know you guys know about my practice, but for the new people watching and the new people in the room, we are a private practice group of registered dietitian nutritionists, and we focus on everything wellness, from stress to sleep to exercise to what we're really going to be discussing today, which is food and how it relates to your overall wellness. We do one-on-one consultations or family consultations. We see from infant all the way up to geriatric age or older population. And we really help tailor a lifestyle that fits to you and your family. So today, we're going to be discussing food as medicine and how that applies in various disease states. Now, I'm sure many of you have family members that have fallen down on the cross with one type of diet, one type of food item, one thing that they said, this changed my lifestyle. This changed my whole life. Anybody have that person? All right, I got a yes. Tell me more.
I have a couple of friends. They went through the keto route, and they swore by it, and they loved it. They lost so much weight and whatnot. But the thing that I noticed is after they started incorporating more non-keto friendly foods or normal food.
Yeah.
They started like gaining weight, so they had to go back and forth, back and forth. And one of them, they just like stopped eating carbs and whatnot. Also, I had another friend; she became a vegan.
Okay.
So
Tell me about that, because that's a huge change as well. Big lifestyle change.
I mean, she was in the vegetarian route. She just went vegan completely because she says that she feels better. She feels more energized, and she's about animal lover, so she's not affecting animals. But I tell her that, but you're also killing like living things because plants are living things. So, but she swears by it, and she says that she's never been feeling better.
Okay. Yeah, that happens quite a bit. Whenever I think about the food as medicine concept, I think about my brother. He's a personal trainer, and he loves to read books and rely on other professionals for information. And you'll see doctors, you'll see nurses, you'll see medical professionals that will swear by things like, have you guys read The Grain Brain? Yeah. It was written by a doctor as well, and covers why grains are bad and why you should not eat grains, right? My brother has done everything from eating crickets. Hopefully he doesn't watch this because I'm throwing him under the bus a little bit, but eating crickets, eating raw organ meats, eating only meat.
I had another friend. She at some point she claimed that the only thing that fit her stomach that didn't make her sick was eating meat. Eating meat. She went like on a carnivore diet.
Yeah. And so there is a great debate about this concept being food as medicine, because people will take some of that and tell you your life will change if you just do this one thing with food, or if this one lifestyle change you make and you make consistently. But that can be problematic for a number of reasons. Since you have been a registered dietitian, you've probably also followed a lot of doctors Have you had any doctors recommend a specific diet?
Oh, well, like your brother, I read them all, and luckily, I have so much knowledge that I can decipher. For me, I really feel like it comes down to what works for the person. That's the
Exactly.
most important part. Not to mess up.
No. That's it. That's
But
it.
that's the most important part of it all. If keto really works, okay, it might be getting you to the goals that you're going for, but let me see your blood work.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So what works for the person, what works for their beliefs.
Yes.
So there's a lot of doctors that I follow and that I pay attention to, but then you gotta work what works for you. Figure out what works for you.
Right. It's all very individualized, 100%. And I have myself followed or worked for many doctors that promote intermittent fasting, that promote keto, that promote paleo, and all of these have very conflicting ideas. The reason for it is because everything is individualized. Lifestyle plays a part into this. Your genetics play a part into this. And that's actually the future of our field is called nutrigenomics, where we're really looking at what food does to your genetics and what specific diet would work for you. We're not quite there yet. So today we're really going to discuss what is food as medicine. We're going to discuss some myths versus facts. We're going to talk about how to put your best foot forward when we talk about nutrition and what that piece of the puzzle can look like for you. We'll talk about preventative nutrition for disease states, so what the current recommendations are. And then we'll discuss functional foods. Does anybody know what functional foods are? Okay. All right. Well, it looks like we're going to take home some awesome concepts today, and hopefully we'll have some good stories along the way. Okay, so first disclaimer, and this is an important one. When we talk about food being as medicine, there is no one food or food group that can prevent or treat specific diseases or conditions. Now, has anybody gone to see the doctor and had something very contradictory toward that statement? Like, you must do the vegan diet to change your life or prevent something like cancer, for example. I've heard that one before. Anybody? No? My goodness, I think I just worked for some very passionate doctors at the end of the day. So this statement is actually regulated by the Food and Drug Administration, which means that you can't go and buy oats, for example, and it says these oats can treat heart disease. Now you may see a nice pretty heart on it, and it may say may help lower cholesterol, but because we're all so individualized and food is really just a piece of the puzzle, the Food and Drug Administration cannot allow food manufacturers to say that a specific food treats a disease. Now, if somebody writes a book about it, that's a whole different story. And I'm sure some of you guys have seen the titles of the Netflix documentaries that are out there that, again, kind of die by this idea. And it's not a bad one. It can most definitely help you in regards to making lifestyle changes and putting your best foot forward. In fact, there was a meta-analysis study done that showed health prescriptions. So instead of a doctor writing for a medication, they write for a health prescription program, meaning the person is going and seeing a dietitian, they're seeing a physical therapist, kind of a holistic approach. It actually brought down their hemoglobin A1C by 0.6 points and brought down their BMI as well significantly. So there is something to it. However, again, there's no one size fits all for everybody. So let's talk about some myths versus facts when we're talking about the food as medicine piece. And we're going to play a little game. I've got some t-shirts as prizes. So I always like to bring some goodies, and I'm so happy to be the first one starting out our series because we're going to have lots of dietitians help you guys out this month. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so first one, myth versus fact. You must avoid sugar and carbs to prevent diabetes. Very much so. Okay. Well, I've only got 3 shirts, so we're going to have to go through the whole game, okay? All right. I know I have a smart bunch. I was thinking, man, I need to up these questions quite a bit. All right. Fruit has too much sugar. Myth. Have you guys ever heard somebody say fruit has too much? Why would they say that?
Well, mine's
Propaganda.
Propaganda.
My sister because they don't eat fruit. Yeah, well, my brother is like pre-diabetic and he has a lot of other issues, but he can't just eat all the fruit he wants like me.
There you go.
Okay? And she's always okay. She kind of limits him. He eats everything, but he doesn't eat a lot of sweet stuff.
Yeah, and that's something we're going to get to when we talked about individualized nutrition. Not everybody has the freedom to be able to eat everything that is seemingly healthy. And in fact, healthy is a very subjective term. We've talked about this in the past. Depends on what your background is genetically, so on and so forth. Okay. All right. So myth versus fact. Kosher or sea salt are better options for blood pressure than regular table salt. Ooh. We got a little odds and ends there. So why would it be if it?
Sea salt has some of the minerals that regular table salt doesn't have in it. It's been stripped of some of those minerals, is what I have read.
Okay, that is good information. So yes, you're correct. However, it's not significant enough to make an impact on overall health by any means. And the problematic part with kosher sea salt is so coarse that it's hard to evenly distribute, if that makes sense. And so you find yourself actually using more to get the same impact. So yes, this one is a myth. That one, I knew it was going to trip up somebody. So thank you for allowing me to trip up at least one person during this presentation. Yes, you do get a t-shirt for that. You do get a t-shirt for that. Okay, if you don't add table salt to your meal, your sodium intake will be under control.
No.
What foods naturally are high in sodium?
Crackers.
They have salt on them, yes. But you can get crackers without added salt, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-mm. No, celery does not.
Do spinach and kale have salt?
Mm-mm. Nope. Most of your fruits and veg, your fresh stuff is going to be naturally salt-free. Yes, processed meats. Processed meats are going to have salt. I should have reworded that a little bit. Yeah, it's not a natural food by any means, but so something like canned beans is a natural food, but they are putting salt in it to make sure that it's. I did trick you. That was my fault. Didn't word that right. What else? Frozen foods, yeah. Frozen foods are definitely can be higher in sodium, although they're getting better with some of their sodium intake. Some of them are a little bit fresher depending on what you get.
Processed food.
Any of your processed foods. If it has a best by date over a year, you know it's going to have salt in it or some sort of sodium preservative.
Beverages,
Some beverages. What beverages are you thinking of?
like tomato juice. Or,
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sort of like a huge amount of salt.
Yeah. They do have low sodium versions of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So last one, salt substitutes are safer than your regular salt.
Oh, yeah.
That is correct. That's a myth. Why is that a myth? Ooh. Let me question.
guess some of the, I piggybacking like from what she said, it could be like some of the minerals that, or the nutritional things that one, like salt, the regular salt has, like the substitutes don't have it, and they can add some other like chemicals on it and stuff like that.
Go ahead.
Some of the salt substitutes have potassium instead of sodium.
That's it. That's it. It's that high amount of potassium. So especially if you're on blood pressure medication, can counteract the efficacy of that blood pressure medication. It's these high potassium salt substitutes. Lisinopril is one of those blood pressure medications that can do that. The other thing is if you have kidney issues, high amounts of potassium can be problematic for your kidneys. So this is one that I love to display because this is really embarks that debate as food is medicine. Whereas you have a healthy individual that's trying to watch out for sodium intake, this may be a really great option for them. But if you have somebody that is on blood pressure medication or has kidney issues, and this can actually be very dangerous and a very unhealthy option. So you see two polar opposite scenarios where this one thing can be really good or really bad. High protein diet is bad for the kidneys. This is another big debate item here. Anybody been on a high protein diet before? No. Okay.
I tried keto at some point.
Okay.
It didn't work for me.
Sometimes those people, when they die by that one thing that says just change their whole life, it makes you want to kind of dabble in it and try it a little bit, right?
I was trying to lower my blood sugar, so since it's high in protein, low in carbs, so I was like, well, maybe what we did.
I hear you. Okay, so this one is myth. Oh, you're definitely getting a t-shirt today. I like it. I got another one.
I read that it was true.
And it's actually still debatable among research. If you look at some research on the European side, they actually have meta-analysis studies that show that can be problematic for your kidneys. But the American Diabetes Association says they've done the exact same meta-analysis on our research and says that there is no effect on the kidneys for high-protein diets. So, debatable.
Does the type of protein enter into the debate?
Yes, you're absolutely right. So, a lot of what was studied were meat-based style proteins, and where they found that plant-based there was a big gray area on that, and how that's filtered through the kidneys, meat protein versus plant-based protein. So interesting stuff, and it's really hard to do a high-protein diet when you're going plant-based in the first place because it takes so much plant to actually get a high-protein diet. But yeah, this one is a very debatable one. What we found here in the United States is that it's not, but type of protein matters, and then what that level looks like for your body weight, which is how we kind of measure what high protein is, how much you're actually intaking based off of your kilograms of body weight. So interesting stuff. So we know there's a lot of good, a lot of bad, but if you were to come into our office and kind of take a bird's eye view of what recommendations we give for people for overall health, you'll probably find stuff that's very familiar to you. So things like following a balanced plate method, which we'll go over here in a minute, decreasing your intake of saturated fat, trans fat, sodium, and added sugars, increasing intake of plants, fruits, veggies, whole grains, fats, and lean meats, and drinking adequate amounts of water. So anybody seen this cute little thing before? What does it represent?
Texas-sized plate.
That is quite a big plate on the screen, isn't it? Ideally, we are using smaller plates, and half the plate is usually
Vegetables.
vegetables. Yes, Fourth of the plate is lean protein, which can include plant-based protein. Fourth of the plate is carbohydrate, and half is color. That's the easiest way for us to disseminate. If you were coming into our office and you said, I have no nutrition education, which I know that this group is at master's level when it comes to nutrition education at this point. But why would we recommend something this easy?
People will like remember.
It's easy to remember. It's not easy to actually put this on a plate every single day, right? There are lots of different reasons why people can't do this on a regular basis, whether it be socioeconomic status, whether it be doesn't reflect the actual culture, or you just straight up don't like the foods, one or the other. And so this is kind of where we work with people one-on-one to guide them through some sort of semblance of color, carbs, protein on a regular basis.
And sometimes the vegetables, high carb vegetables could go up with the lean protein, couldn't it?
Absolutely. And in some cases in the plant-based world, these two are going to match, right? So you'll find some protein in your carbohydrate, or you may even find some protein in your color as well. And those are things that we kind of help you figure out along with your medical background to see what works best for you.
What about the whole grains? They go in the carb section?
Whole grains absolutely do go in the carb section. So let me give you some more examples of what this would look like. Who likes tacos? San Antonio. So your carb is your tortilla. Your protein is the turkey that goes into the tortilla. And the color, you've got avocado, tomato, cilantro. You've got fruit in there as well, which is both color and carbohydrate. And coleslaw. It's a nice colorful plate, right? Okay, the next one is beef with a side salad. And I like to use this one because we are in Texas and we like our red meat here in Texas. By all means, anybody like to eat red meat? Nobody likes to eat red meat. Okay, all right, we got it. We got one.
I like to, but I don't.
It doesn't like you sometimes, maybe?
Well, I've been told not to.
Yes, that's what we're going to get to as far as cancer recommendations. And I know over time your taste buds adjust to anything that you do. So this could also be turkey meat, y'all. But beans are a great way to increase the amount of plant-based protein that you get and really decrease the amount of meat, whether it's white or red meat. Adding those beans can both be your carbohydrate and your protein. And then the meat itself, whether it's turkey or beef, will be your protein, and your color is that fun side salad that goes along with it. Although that chili looks really colorful too.
That's kind of why I get off track.
Mm.
See, as far as a balanced plate, I do the chili thing, but I'll do it with beans.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped there. I never thought about the salad.
Mm.
As a complete balanced plate.
Why would the salad matter?
And the green vegetables. And
Yeah, but what is with those green veggies?
Folic acid.
Folic acid, vitamins and minerals. Yes. So phytonutrients are a big one. Antioxidants are a big buzz term that we love to educate on, mostly because they help with a number of different things. They may help with fighting inflammation in your body, which in turn helps prevent things like diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, all that fun stuff.
so then, as far as like a balanced plate, like with the previous one with the taco, I never thought of having another side with it, just in the tacos. So
Yeah.
I'm missing out on some
Yes.
things.
Your colon would love you for it, your whole GI system, and then, of course, those anti-inflammatory benefits that come along with it is huge. All right, so another example for breakfast, this would be having some sort of avocado toast. I personally like to do my avocado toast with some sort of egg option on top. But your color here is your tomatoes, the fruit, which is your blueberries, which count as carbohydrate as well. And then you've got yogurt for your protein and or turkey bacon if you don't like to do eggs, which is another option.
That's a chunk of tomatoes.
Those are some chunky tomatoes. You got to like tomatoes for sure. Anybody like tomatoes? No? They are high in lycopene, which is fantastic for blood pressure. Okay, so we talked about what to decrease intake. Saturated fat. Why is that important? Heart health, yes, but there's something specific behind that. Overall heart health.
Cholesterol?
Yes. So,
Arteries and
yeah, you're getting there. Both of you. Those are great answers. So low density lipoproteins, your LDL cholesterol level. If you go get blood drawn and you look at your overall cholesterol level, saturated fat actually translates to that LDL cholesterol level specifically. And this is why you want to limit your intake, because it creates these little low density lipoproteins. They're teeny tiny, a lot tinier than this, but they get caught in the valves of your veins and arteries, and that's what creates plaque, which over time you have a hard time with your heart.
my PA told me, I remember now these specifics, like she said, nothing from a pig and nothing from a cow. So I did that for 4 months, and my cholesterol went down 40 or 50 points, and it wasn't.
A lot of that saturated fat intake can really make a big difference in this world. And depending on the person, some people are really, really sensitive to these numbers where others are not. And we have seen both ranges in the office, I'll tell you that. Trans fats are another big one that contributes. Sodium, specifically for your blood pressure, and sugars are for regulation of blood sugars and diabetes. So we talked about increasing fruit and veggie intake, whole grains, lots and lots of science on actually eating whole grains. I know the grain brain is a big one, but there are tons of meta-analyses that say eating whole grains are fantastic for you. Now, give me some examples of whole grains.
Brown rice.
Brown rice?
Quinoa.
Yep.
Quinoa.
Quinoa. What are some other options? Potatoes are a starchy veggie. They fall in the carbohydrate category, and they're still very, very good for you, but they're not a grain. So grains like oats. Yes. What's that? Bulgur. Yep, that's another one. Variety is key there when we talk about whole grains. And then drinking adequate amounts of water. Who's really good at getting to this lemonade color on a regular basis? The dietitian throws up her hand. Absolutely. It's important carrying some very big jugs of water with you. 40 ounces or more can help you get there on a regular basis, or having a timer. I like that one. Stickers are a big one because it catches the eye. Brightly colored water bottles are really fantastic to help you get there, because usually you're looking at about half your body weight in ounces, and that's just an overall general goal there. Okay, now let's talk about preventing chronic diseases. And first, we're going to talk about heart disease. And I think you're going to find a lot of the things that I mentioned in the overall nutrition are going to translate here as well. So, what are some specific fats that we want to make sure that you are limiting? Let's talk about your saturated fatty acids. So, who utilizes lard? Anybody? It's not a thing that's common really anymore, but it has been kind of repackaged into like this health kick type thing, especially in the keto world. I see what's called beef tallow used, and this is just from patient experience. Beef tallow is lard, and so if you see that at the grocery store, do not be tricked by the quote-unquote health components of it. It is what it is. And so you really want to focus on more of those plant-based options. Tell me what some of your favorites are in the plant-based world. Oh yeah, they weren't so darn expensive these days. What else?
Ten.
Salmon. Fatty fish is fantastic because it has both protein and those good fatty acids that help have some of those antioxidants that we talk about, help with inflammation.
Olives, I like olives.
Oh, yeah. Got to watch out for sodium on that one, but those are really good. Here in Texas, it's hard to grow an olive tree and get some fresh olives, but you can do it. My neighbor's actually done it. So.
And nuts.
Walnuts.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anybody heard? This is a new one. Grass-fed foods. So great debate on this one. Grass-fed beef versus your conventional corn-fed beef. Anybody heard anything in this realm?
My husband doesn't like the grass-fed beef because he says it's not fatty enough.
Ah, okay.
But the corn-fed beef is sometimes if you can find it, because there's a lot of information out there, like you said.
Yeah.
Corn-fed beef is not as good, healthy as.
Yeah. So we put it in this column, but in reality, the difference between conventional and your grass-fed when we talk about the unsaturated fatty acid world is so minimal. And we really don't know what kind of health effects that minimal amount that you're getting in the unsaturated fatty acid world. There really is no difference. So they have 80-20 grass-fed and they have 80-20 conventional fed, which means 80% fat, 20% beef. It's kind of like if you were to buy milk and you go low fat milk or full fat milk. The only difference between the two is the fat content. You're still getting the same amount of protein each way. So in reality, with grass-fed beef, they kind of mark it up quite a bit. There's not a huge nutritional difference between the two. Now, if you care about the cows, maybe that's a whole different story, but that's where we're at. Okay. Decreasing sodium intake is fantastic for heart health because it really helps with those portion sizes. Now, does anybody know your limit of sodium intake for the day?
Is it a teaspoon?
Teaspoon, exactly. Teaspoon equates to how many milligrams? Ooh, okay. Teaspoon equates to about 2,300 milligrams per day. Now, this recommendation is not for everybody by any means, especially if you have a history of heart disease, high blood pressure, or anything in that realm. Your doctor may recommend an even lower amount of sodium. So 1 teaspoon is 2,300 milligrams. However, you may be needing to take less depending on what's going on medically.
But don't we need some salt?
Yes, absolutely. Low salt never means no salt, and that pretty much equates to anything out there. You never have to completely take anything out of your diet by any means. So one big thing that people think is that everything has to be lower sodium, but you can rinse foods to actually take out some of the higher sodium options, and that can save you $1 or $2. What are ways that you guys reduce salt?
Not eating processed food.
Yeah, absolutely. Making it home. That can be time consuming.
Any condiments like ketchups and salad dressings and things, they usually have a lot of sodium.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Condiments are very high in sodium and they usually have a shelf life of over a year. So limiting that can help.
I just don't salt when I cook.
Yeah.
So I just, so my husband and my mother just add salt to their plate.
What seasonings do you like to use that are sodium free?
Well, I like cooking with spices.
Yeah.
Spices.
What are your favorites?
Depends on my mood.
Ooh, I like it.
If I want like a citrusy, I go for za'atar
Okay.
and Aleppo pepper instead of just black pepper.
Yeah.
If I'm
Just depends on the cuisine, right?
Yeah, it depends on, yeah, what I'm trying to.
Yeah. I will send. We have a little handout that has no salt spices that kind of pair with cuisine. So I'll send that over to you so you can give that out.
I like ginger. I put it like
Oh.
if I'm doing stewing chicken with vegetables.
Yes.
Put ginger in it.
Little teaser there. Ginger is what we like to call functional food as well. So we'll be talking about that too. Who's heard of the DASH diet? I know I've talked about it before. Yeah? No? Okay. So DASH diet is actually one of the top 2 diets in the United States for 2024. It's been running in the top 2 for the past few years now. And it stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. And the guidelines for the DASH diet really aren't anything different than what we've talked about. So limiting saturated fat, right? Going for low fat dairy products because all of your animal products are going to contain saturated fat. Consuming more plants. Eating more foods that contain those unsaturated fatty acids and have lots of fibers. Cooking with plant-based oils. We talked about saturated fats, and then avoiding sugar-sweetened beverages and sweet items is kind of the synopsis of that. With the top one being the Mediterranean diet, and it's really not a whole lot different between the two, which is kind of cool. So that one's specifically for heart health, although you'll find, again, overall nutrition, most of the things that you want to tackle when it comes to nutrition can be covered under those types of diets. Cancer, the hot topic. And what we've seen as far as research goes is increasing plant-based foods in your diet make a really big difference, and having a variety. So that lovely side salad that we talked about with your main dish is a way to get what you need. So really we're going back to that plate method. There's no big trick or magic cure for this by any means. It's really putting your best foot forward and incorporating lots of plant-based options, reducing red processed and charred meats, which can be linked to higher risk of cancer. So beans, lentils, quinoa, edamame, tofu. How do you guys use these in your diet right now? Anybody?
I eat quinoa pretty much every day. So
Ah.
I make like a fruit salad.
Yeah.
Just mix a bunch of fruits and then he adds quinoa to that.
Yeah.
And then we started using it instead of rice. We started using that as a side to whatever we're making. Whatever we would have used rice, now we use quinoa.
It's a very popular grain, mostly because it's a little bit higher in protein than your other whole grains. So it's kind of like beans. It's one of those magical fruits, but it's not a fruit, it's a grain. That helps give you both that protein and carbohydrate balance in a plant-based option.
And also it's good like either cold or hot, and also sweet or savory, like pretty much any way you want to use it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, it's very blendable. It's kind of, it is technically a seed, so really you can use it just like you use seeds. Cool one.
I put chia seeds, flax seeds, and hemp heart seeds in bone broth every day.
Mmm. That's a new one. I haven't heard that one. What's it taste like?
I liked it. I had it for breakfast.
Okay. Okay.
Like a soup.
Sort of, yeah.
It's kind of, it almost reminds me of like when you go to an Asian restaurant and they serve you like a miso soup before your main meal. Kind of like a appetite opening type thing. I'm not sure. But great. What else?
I use the lentils and the beans and legumes as protein sources to meat in my meals.
Yes. Yeah. And there's so many easy ways to do it, incorporating it with meat, having it be a meat replacement to help reduce the amount of meat that you're taking in. The beans and legumes are, it's one of my favorite foods because it's budget friendly. It's so much cheaper than buying meat itself. And it's so high in fiber, 10 grams of fiber per cup, which is really huge when we talk about increasing those high density lipoproteins or those really good cholesterol levels that your doc wants to see from you on a regular basis. everybody really. Okay, and then when we talk about cancer risk, limiting intake, they found research can help decrease your risk of breast and colon cancers along with other types. So no more than 1 drink for women and 2 drinks for men. Doesn't that stink? Why do men get a little bit more than us? That's not fair. Okay, so diabetes, we talked about it earlier. There's some folks that really need to watch out for portion control with diabetes, and specifically in the carbohydrate realm. So that does mean that, yes, it is a healthy food, but we do need to look at limiting how much of what you're taking in for prevention of diabetes. I say the term healthy is subjective, but too much of anything, whether it's considered healthy in your book or not, can be a bad thing. So too much fruits, too much starchy veggies, too much beans and legumes can be hard on blood sugars over time. So going back again to that wonderful balance plate method, making sure that a fourth to half your plate has that protein. You've got lots of non-starchy veggie color that don't have a big impact on your blood sugars. Okay, so overall tips here, we're looking at focusing on whole grain or whole wheat options versus refined carbohydrates. Now for diabetes specifically, why would that be important? Going for whole grain options or whole wheat over white options.
Lower glycemic index.
Yes. Tell me about lower glycemic index. What does that mean to you?
It means more vitamins and nutrients than sugar.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And more fiber. Fiber is the thing that helps bind to the sugar. So when it digests in your system, it's digesting at a very slow rate, and your body's getting like a time release capsule of energy or sugar in the system. So fiber really makes a big difference when we talk about blood sugar regulation. And of course, decreasing added sugars in your diet, making sure you're watching out for how much fiber you're taking in. How much fiber do women need today? We only have one man here, so I will get to men too, but we'll Oh, 60 grams. Good night. You guys overshot that a little bit. 25 grams. If you were having 60 grams of fiber, you would feel that in your stomach. There was one time that I overdid fiber, and the gas piece is not pretty by any means. So yes, 25 grams and then 35 grams for men is what you're looking for on a regular basis. How much fiber is in a cup of vegetables?
Depends on the vegetable.
Yeah, well, just give me a general idea. Roundabout 3 to 5, depending on the vegetable. So 25 grams of fiber per day. That means you'd have to take in a good amount throughout the day. That's another reason why we got to get those side salads in your diet.
Question, the whole wheat, does it matter if it's whole grain or?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are varying levels of fiber. Your highest fiber amount is usually going to be in your sprouted grain. Have you guys heard of those before? They're like little hockey pucks, in my opinion. That doesn't fit into my lifestyle by any means for taste reasons. Your next one is going to be your 100% whole wheat options. And that has anywhere from 3, 4, 5 grams of fiber, depending on the brand. So it really depends on the size of the bread, really, on what you're buying. But that's it kind of goes all the way down from there, from sprouted bread to 100% whole wheat to your whole grain items to the 21 grains to the oats to so on and so forth. And you get kind of into the honey wheat and the white and things like that. And so in reality, we're trying to get to that 25 grams of fiber. What is that going to look like for you that you can sustain? Because that's really important. If you don't like eating hockey pucks, in my opinion, just my personal opinion, first thing in the morning or throughout the day, then we got to find kind of that even ground that's going to be sustainable for you and your family. and will also help you get to that 25 grams of fiber, because I also heard you guys love avocado, which also is a very high fiber food that you can incorporate in that same dish to increase fiber content. Yeah? Okay, so we talked about eating more fruits and veggies, avoiding sugar-sweetened beverages. All of this sounds a little bit familiar, right? We're kind of seeing some themes here. And in our office, really, we take all of these big themes and then we make it work with your lifestyle, which is kind of cool. Now, who knows about kidney disease, or anybody have a family member with kidney disease? Prevention of kidney disease or healthy diets usually starts with prevention of heart disease, diabetes, and blood pressure, because the secondary piece of this is kidney disease. When diabetes is uncontrolled, when your blood pressure is uncontrolled, weight is uncontrolled, so on and so forth, that is when it starts to affect those wonderful kidneys that help filter out everything in your body. And so focusing on those specific diets helps keep your kidneys healthy. So making sure that your blood pressure looks good, your diabetes levels, your blood sugar levels are right where they need to be will also keep those kidneys nice and healthy. Okay, so functional foods is the last piece of this. And I kind of did a little bit of teaser on functional foods, ginger being that teaser. So take some guesses. What do you guys think functional foods are?
Functional foods, my guess is that they help cell signal.
That's a good guess. They have health benefits to them. And really, when we talk about functional foods, you guys could have guessed a lot of different things. There's no legal definition to functional foods. You will go to the grocery store, though, and it's usually interpreted as this particular food also has this particular health benefit. So what do you know about ginger, for example, and the health benefits for ginger? Oh, well,
Does it help digestion or something? It's good for your stomach?
absolutely. Has anybody ever been pregnant? For some of you, it's sooner. For some of us, is further away. But ginger is known to help with nausea. So it has this little added health benefit. And there's a reason why people gravitate toward this one food when something's going on, like you feel like throwing up on a regular basis. Sometimes a natural thing like ginger can help. And that is what functional foods are usually interpreted as, something that has a health benefit that goes along with it. And it typically consists of a food that is the whole food in itself. It's usually very minimally processed type thing. So when we talk about ginger, like ginger flakes, or mostly ginger in that food item itself. So some examples of that, we talked about fish before. You guys, it sounds like you guys are good fish eaters. Yeah? Awesome. So fatty fish contains those omega-3 fatty acids. And omega-3 fatty acids are known for being an antioxidant or helping with heart health. It helps reduce inflammation in the body. So it may help lower risk of heart disease. And I'm sure all of you guys have heard that, which is another example of those functional foods.
If you don't like I don't like salmon or anything like that, is there something else that you can get the omega-3 fatty acids?
Yes, but I think this group also knows the answer to that, because I got some very smart folks in here. And I have said it last year. Ooh. Avocados, yes. What's the other one? Walnuts. The nuts. There's a reason why you put chia seeds in there, right? Those chia seeds, no chia seeds for you apparently. Not a healthy food for you. Walnuts in particular have those omega-3 fatty acids and unsaturated fatty acids that are also an antioxidant. Whole grains that are high in fiber. We know you guys have already seen the oats that may help lower cholesterol levels. Berries are high in antioxidants, and those antioxidants are what we talk about inflammation, which is kind of just a blanket term for things that can cause disease. Unsalted nuts. Anybody like a particular type of nut or have heard a health claim on a particular type of nut?
Almonds.
Almonds.
I eat walnuts every day.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. What about Brazil nuts? Yes, they're very high in selenium, which is one of those harder to reach nutrients when we talk about being an antioxidant. But all of your nuts really can help with blood pressure if they're unsalted. That's the key there, unsalted nuts. And then we talked about your beans, which are both high in fiber, which can help lower those cholesterol levels and also help control blood sugars. So good stuff when we talk about those functional foods. So in summary, we know that food can help you put your best foot forward. When we talk about specific prevention and diseases, it's a piece of the puzzle, but it's not necessarily the whole pie. And your genetics, your family history, your socioeconomic status, all of that plays a part. But simplistic tools can really help you get there. And of course, we can too if you want to see us one-on-one. All right, what else you guys got? Other questions?